Welcome back to part 2 of the Always Creative Design RC pulling sled build. This is where we were at the end of part 1. Now we are much further along. We basically just had the shapes roughed out before. Now we're starting to get into a little bit more detail, how we're bolting things together, and where everything is exactly mating. Starting to get the mechanicals together, and getting to some of the finer details, and finding some problems along the way. So with that said, I'm going to put the time lapse on. I'm going to do a little bit of voiceover as we go with some of the important details. Enjoy. So to start with here, we have to make some type of mount for the linear rails, and that's that box underneath. Now we're adding a small detail to the top. This is to help guide the chain as it is moving along underneath the box. This is just a little bit better, a little upgrade from the last version, as it just sagged along. This could probably improve tension. Then I duplicated that again, just mounting them all along the bottom where the rail will go. Then I decided to work at the front. The front here has to be a separate piece, and I'm making sure that these pieces are all sized so that I can print it on my printer. So this is where the roller will go on the front. This is where the chain is going to wrap all the way around and then go back underneath everything that we just built along there. Really simple. Just nothing adjustable at this moment. Just making it a functional model to start with before we start adding all those details and finding out where we actually need to add complication. We want to keep this as simple as possible and as utilitarian as possible so that we don't induce failure points. So here we are, just a simple roller with a bolt through it. No problem, can print it all out. Next, I started working on the kind of fender slash cab box portion. I'm not sure the technical term for that, but just making sure that the wheels are centered in the wheel well and that it's not going to cause any problems mechanically, and actually allows us space to mount things too. So here I cut out the entire front because I couldn't slide that through. So making a little cutout or recess for the next piece that is going to mount across. See, it doesn't go all the way to the edge, so that way the part locates itself and will go right in there. Once we have that all nailed down, it's the mates are acting a little funny here, trying to figure everything out. But once again, we do get to the end there. I did have to make a new front pivot triangle. Didn't really show that, but there will be more detail eventually on that, and I'll go over it. Okay, so now you can see that part that I added underneath that attaches both the fenders together. Finish some of the mates so that the box actually slides properly. Okay, so now we skip ahead a little bit. You can see here I got bored and decided to make some fancy wheels. This is similar to the RC wheels that you get, so they have a 12mm hex on the one side. Here I'm just adding planes so that I can mate them and center them properly. Moved all these parts into a new assembly. Once I have them located, I work on making a axle. So this is just axle shaft that you can buy, say, off McMaster. So one flat on it, 1/4 inch, and that's what I use to go through. So I just model that up quick and slam that through there. This way I can start modeling the area that the axles are actually going to mount to. So we see here that that piece is getting extruded, and then I'm making some walls that'll come down each side, and that's what the axles go through. Now note that this has no recess for bearings. There's still nothing getting bolted to this. There's no holes to actually fix that in its location. This is just modeled and constrained in place. So there's a lot more that has to be done before that can be used. Here I'm just adding a little bit more detail to the fender, where it can be bolted to. You notice there are bolt holes now for that one plate that goes across and mounts the fenders to the underside of the linear rails. Adding some fillets for strength in some areas that I think need it. Here I moved on to the cab, referencing the original drawing that you will have seen in part 1. Just using it as a reference, trying to get some of my dimensions off of it and the shapes and proportions. Trying to get some of the smaller details down on the cab that make it look as realistic as I can. I'll probably look at some more reference, as the cab will be a substantial an important piece of this sled. Now we can add the drivetrain components and the drive system. So mounting all of these sprockets and things to the axle, using the flat side to help with any mates. So the way this is going to work is both axles are going to be driving, so they'll have two sprockets. There'll be one sprocket on the first axle, the front one, that will have a chain which will drive to the back axle, which is with the same size sprocket, which will be 1-to-1. That will have a secondary, as you see there, which will drive up to the large sprocket, and then will be gear ratioed down to the small sprocket again, and that will allow each wheel rotation to move the box only a couple inches, which will allow you to actually pull the sled the 20 feet that is regulation for RC tractor pulling. And that's where we are. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you to Always Creative Design for sponsoring today's video.